Silva Zoldyck is the current head of the Zoldyck family, one of the 5 most dangerous families in the world of Hunter x Hunter. He is the father of Killua, Illumi, Maluki, Kaluto, and Aluka, and a direct successor to Zeno as the family leader. Silva represents the peak of assassin professionalism, discipline, and power. He is calm, calculating, emotionally controlled, and utterly unshakable in combat. Unlike the wild volatility seen in characters like Hisoka and Crollo, Silva embodies the Zoldyck philosophy. Kill cleanly, kill efficiently, kill without emotion. He's a walking reminder that Zoldicks aren't just feared because of Nen. They are feared because they combine Nen training, technique, and generational mastery of assassination. He very much has a stoic leadership style. Silva rarely raises his voice. His composure intimidates more than shouting could ever. Every moment is deliberate. Silva prefers to avoid unnecessary conflict. He only fights when paid to or protecting his family's interests. And as a father, he deeply cares for Killua, but only expresses it through survival training and silent expectation. His love equals preparing his children to survive the worst. But we can see when it comes to Killua, he is not too harsh on him. He lets him be whatever he wants to be because he spots the immense potential that Killua has to be the strongest in the family ever. And that says a lot about his eye for talent and his eye for leading. He doesn't necessarily have to use brute force to get the best out of you. He knows that with Killua, letting him explore as a kid, create bonds with people, will allow him to turn into his true monstrous self. And he has ruthless professionalism. He has assassinated mafia leaders, entire squads, a troop member, and high-value political targets. He kills without hesitation and without theatrics, the way a master swordsman sheaths his blade before the body drops. And before we go into about who he's killed and how strong he is, let's talk about his Nen. Silva is a transmuter like Killua. His signature ability is the creation of massive explorer aura spheres, capable of annihilating targets with both precision and overwhelming destructive force. His aura appears also as a white-blue swirling energy, expanding into controlled spheres or condensed blasts, with enough power to crater the ground on impact. This is not just raw destruction. It shows control, compression, and mastery. And transmuters have the ability to change aura properties, apply elemental effects, and dynamic combat style. And Silva's version represents the most refined explosive aura technique in the family, an art passed down and perfected over generations. And let's talk about his conflict with Crollo and how it began. Silva Zoldyck killed a Phantom Troop member, specifically the former member number 8, which is now held by Shizuku. This occurred before the start of the series, and Silva was later hired to kill another member, but that job wasn't a success. This action is the one that led to the confrontation between the troop's leader, Crollo Lucifer. Silva killed him so cleanly that Crollo speaks about him with respect and fear. This feat alone places Silva in a high elite Nen tier. And I'll go more into detail about their 1v1 later. And let's get into how strong he really is. He survived and defeated Cheeto in minutes. In the Chimera Ant arc, Silva and Zeno are summoned to exterminate Chimera Ants. Cheeto, being one of the fastest ants, challenged them. Silva kills him instantly. No build-up, no dramatic showdown, one strike, which shows his lethal precision and willingness to kill without hesitation, which automatically puts him in the higher tiers, which is probably sea level. And though Cheeto is not the strongest ant, he still has enhanced superhuman durability, and yes, Silva treats him like an insect. Now let's try to scale him properly. He's above tier 1, which is pre-Heaven's Arena, pre-Crollo fight Hisoka, mid-level Chimera Ant officers, and most professional hunters like Nobunaga, Franklin, Shaonark, and Shizuki. And now in tier 2 is where I would probably put him, along with Crollo, Zeno, Razor, Morel, and Adult Bisky. However, he is below tier 3, which is a perfect area to put him in because he is nowhere near Meruem, Adult Gon, Netero, Yuppie, and Poof. Silva sits in a high elite human tier, but it's really hard to gauge him considering we don't know too much about his true abilities. And I do think in the right scenario, Silva could potentially do very well against a Royal Guard. However, the Royal Guards are in a different league, and I do think he has the firepower to probably kill a Royal Guard. However, durability will probably be his biggest weakness because these Royal Guards could fight for forever. And when I mean forever, they can fight forever. The attacks they can bounce back from are just generational, if I'm being honest with you. And I don't think Silva could fight that for very long, but I think he'll do a very good job. Now let's talk about the meats and potato. How do you guys think Silva versus Crollo would end up? And apparently after he killed that member of the troops, Crollo caught the fade. I wish we could have seen just a little bit of this. However, the results are inconclusive. Let's not forget that this was a much younger Crollo with less knowledge and probably nowhere near as strong as current Crollo. But let's just say for then it was a tie because Silva probably had no reason to kill Crollo. I think it's safe to assume that if he saw it as pointless, he probably didn't really engage for real. If they met randomly in a 1v1, I really think Silva's raw destructive power and Nen compression spheres would give him a huge edge in a random battle against Crollo. And because there's little to no information on how strong his sealing and aura burst techniques are, Crollo will probably get absolutely swamped. Now let's say Crollo was able to plan for any of his attacks, that's a completely different fight. Because the mere fact that he can steal abilities, he could get all the right things that could be great counters to Silva's abilities. And I know many of you are going to use the fact that he went 2v1 against Silva and Zeno. And let's be honest, they were going serious, but they were cut short because the Mafia Dons who hired them were killed in combat. So they had no reason to continue fighting Crollo. And I really do wonder how long Crollo would have kept up with them had the fight gone longer, because there is no way he was winning. However, it did show that Crollo is really that guy. So if Crollo does have prep time, I'm pretty sure he probably beat him, similar to how he beat Hisoka, because once you have counters for everything they do, what can they possibly do at that point? But even then, Silva could still potentially win, because we have never seen him go all out using full potential attacks and abilities, and we don't know what he knows. And if I'm being honest, just from a narrative standpoint, if Illumi, Hisoka, and Crollo are all in the same boat, I'm sure Silva would be in a tier above them. It just makes sense from a narrative standpoint. And we cannot underestimate him by the slightest, because he is the leader of the most dangerous mafia family in all of Hunter x Hunter.